You're in the market for a TMS solution. You are going to find a lot of options. They are going to appear very confusing. So, which are the options that might be relevant for you? That's what we are going to discuss in this video, the top 10 TMS systems in 2023. So, let's dive in. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, ERP, WMS, TMS, e commerce selection, as well as implementation. On that note, let's get back to today's topic. Before we look at the list, let's understand different layers that are going to be helpful in evaluating these systems. Number one layer for TMS systems is going to be the independent versus slightly more managed services centric TMS offering. And there is a very thin line in terms of how these systems are structured. For the most part, the a lot of systems are going to be part of the supply chain consulting firms or the managed services offerings, and they use TMS just to enable their offerings. Some of these companies are really big, so they have acquired many technology systems from the market, and they are also going to have substantial amount of data. And for a TMS, especially when you talk about the supply chain visibility, the data is really critical. So some of these platforms are powerful. The other layer typically that is going to be relevant with respect to TMS is going to be, okay, how many modes does a TMS support? And is it going to be for global transportation, or is it going to be just for domestic use cases or domestic modes? So a lot of systems are going to be designed only for trucking or for local or maybe for last mile delivery. The other systems are going to be slightly more for global supply chain. The final layer that you are going to see is some of these TMS systems are going to be part of the suite where they are going to have multiple supply chain systems, while in the other case these are going to be standalone TMS. So we are going to compare the list with all of these different layers where everybody sort of fits in, so that you can make an informed decision for yourself which TMS system is going to be the right fit for your business needs. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is the CH Robinson Navy Sphere is the name of the solution. TMC is the division that they have that is publishing this Navy Sphere solution. For the most part, I think they have two or three different TMS solutions in their portfolio. One is designed slightly more for SMB, one for the enterprise. The enterprise one is going to be slightly more for the global supply chain. The smaller solution is for, it's almost like a shipping add-on that you are going to find in the ERP ecosystem that is going to allow you to do the shipping, the rate shopping, for the most part the parcel shipping. Not, you might do a little bit of LTL FTL, but for the most part that is designed more for domestic shipping. So similarly, you are going to, I think they have one more option in their portfolio that is really for the quoting. So that's how two or three different solutions are structured. The flagship solution that they have is called Navy Sphere. So one of the pros that you are going to find with Navy Sphere, this in terms of the layers that we were discussing in the beginning, for the most part, CH Robinson as a company, they are interested in providing their managed services. So this TMS offering is going to be part of the managed services. Even if they are able to sell it stand alone, for the most part their interest is going to be in selling those managed services. And for them, they have a lot of different services. They are especially penetrated in the food and beverage market. That's where you are going to find a lot of value. Now, They are a humongous company, supply chain company, and they have a lot of carriers. They have a lot of different partnerships in the supply chain space. So they are going to have tremendous amount of data, but for the most part, they are not necessarily an independent TMS vendor or the technology vendor. Now, if you are outsourcing all of your supply chain needs to them, then their TMS might make sense. But if you are using them as one of the channel or one of the carriers or just to shop with them, then you might require another TMS that is going to be slightly more independent, which is going to be aligned with your business model. So the other pros that you are going to find with CH Robinson TMC or Navy Spare solution is going to be the know-how of the supply chain industry. In general, the in the supply chain industry, you need to know the compliance, you need to know what kind of filings that you need to do from the custom brokerage perspective. So there is a lot to know. So when you are dealing with companies like CH Robinson, obviously you are going to get their supply chain subject matter expertise, and that's a huge plus in going with them. Now, the other pros that you are going to get is one-stop shop for all of the supply chain needs, whether you are looking at the consulting or you are looking at the platform. Expertise with food and produce market is going to be super handy as well. So if you are in that market, their network is going to be especially strong in that particular vertical. So it might make sense if you are part of that vertical. Now, the cons with CH Robinson is going to be they are not necessarily independent. Their data is going to be limited to just their network. So even though it's big, but you are still limited by the data in their network. And it's not necessarily a TMS solution. So if you're looking for a TMS solution, maybe you should be looking for slightly more independent TMS vendors as opposed to looking at this. But if you are partnering with them as more of the managed services or freight provider, then that's a different case. Then their solution might make sense. Having that said, they are at number 10 on our list. Now, number 9 on our list is Trimble TMS. And Trimble is a very similar company, just like CH Robinson. They also have their consulting arm, even though they are slightly more penetrated in the technology space. Their main target market is the transportation companies. They also do a lot of business in the agriculture as well as in the construction market. Their depth is going to be in maps, telematics. That's been their sort of bread and butter. But now they have a lot of offerings. Their TMS system that they have that is really designed from the perspective of the transportation 3PL freight brokers. Those are the companies that are going to find it meaningful. It is not really designed from the shipper perspective. By the way, that is another layer that you need to keep in mind, that sometimes these TMS systems are going to be designed from the shipper's perspective. The 3PL companies have very different workflow overall. So the TMS system designed for the logistics companies is going to be very different from the way it is going to be from the perspective of a shipper. So Trimble is really designed from 3PL's perspective. The compliance, especially when you talk about the driver side workflow or driver side compliance or the carrier network, that's where Trimble is going to be really strong. The cons with Trimble is going to be that the technology is very legacy. You have a lot of cloud native platforms available in the TMS space as well. So their technology is extremely clunky at this point of time. Their goal is going to be to integrate all of the TMS systems that they have, real-time visibility platforms that they have acquired lately. They are trying to integrate all of that, but their technology as of today is very clunky. They also have very limited industry focus. So that's going to be a con. So let's say if you have a very complex business model where you are trying to act as a shipper, you are also trying to act as a transportation company, then their TMS system might not be able to accommodate all of those workflows just because of the limitation or limited focus of the solution. And Trimble is also not completely independent. So their goal is also going to be to push for the managed services. So having said that, Trimble ranks at number 9 on our. Now, number 8 on our list is Descartes TMS. And Descartes is a very interesting company as well. Their TMS is designed for multimodal global supply chain. And even though everybody in the industry is going to talk about they can support all modes of transportation and they all are going to claim that they have the supply chain visibility platform, but for the most part, it's going to be in the strength of everyone's network, how strong the network is. Sometimes the network is going to be strong in one particular area, or it could be strong in one particular mode. Descartes traditionally was very strong in the air transportation, but now slowly and gradually they have acquired data sets for pretty much all modes of transportation. So now they have air, ocean, primarily from the global perspective. So the pros with Descartes TMS is going to be managed services are available if you want to utilize their managed services as part of the TMS solution. The TMS is going to be comprehensive, and the data that they have, especially the visibility platform, that is particularly strong, even though it might not have the best UI at this point of time because of some of the other cloud native options available in the market. The cons for Descartes TMS is going to be it's not completely independent just because they have the managed services as well as the consulting arm with them. So it's not necessarily independent. Might not be SMB friendly, fairly expensive overall. So if you are an SMB company, then you might want to look for some other option. And the overall, from the suite perspective, it's not going to be a complete suite. The other options that we have on this list are going to have far more options that are going to be pre-integrated. So overall, let's say if you are an SMB company and if you have to patch all of these pieces together, then you are looking at substantial IT maturity that you might not have as the SMB company. Having said that, Descartes TMS still ranks at number 8 on our list. Now, number 7 on our list is Mercury Gate. Mercury Gate is probably the first independent TMS system on this list. So far, we have reviewed, and the Mercury Gate is the cloud native TMS system. So the technology is going to be really good compared to some of the traditional TMS systems that are part of this list. Now, advantage with the Mercury Gate is going to be it's going to have the fleet management and the last mile capabilities. It also has the claims management capability, and that's going to be one of the most important aspect of your TMS, especially if you are going to be a 3PL or transportation centric company, then you have to have the claims management capability. So those are some of the pros of Mercury Gate. The cons is going to be that it is primarily focused in North America. So if you have global supply chain, then this might not be the best fit right now. So make sure you assess their capabilities globally before you commit to their solution. It's not the complete suite, so it's going to be just the TMS. So if you're looking for just either the standalone TMS or best of breed TMS for your architecture, it could be a great fit. But if not, then you are looking to integrate this with other tools, and that could be a substantial IT investment, the consulting expertise that you need to have to be able to patch all of these pieces together. So it's not really part of the suite that some of the other TMS systems might be there. And the reporting capabilities might be limiting. That is what users have reported overall from the reporting perspective, especially when you talk about some of the custom fields, etc. When you have to use them for reporting, they could be slightly limiting. So that's number 7. Now, number 6 on our list is 3G TMS, and they have also acquired a company called PaceJet, which was very common in the ERP ecosystem, especially if you talk about the SMB ecosystem. So 3G TMS is targets slightly more SMB centric verticals. With PaceJet now, they have acquired those parcel capabilities as part of their TMS. So now it has become the complete suite, just like Mercury Gate, which is going to be slightly more independent. So pros for 3G TMS is that it's going to be friendly for SMBs. It's a complete shipping solution, ideal for light TMS needs for shippers. So if you don't have very strong needs, then 3G TMS could be a great fit. The cons for 3G TMS is going to be that it's not designed for the enterprise workloads or needs. Also, it's not an integrated suite, just like some of the other platforms that we have on the list may require add-ons for advanced capabilities. So you need to keep that in mind as well, and might not work for all business models because this takes very specific perspective from the shippers. So it's not really designed for all of those business models. So you might want to bet a little bit there. So that's number 6. Now, number 5 on our list is E2 Open, Blue Jays, or Cloud Logistics. Now, E2 Open overall has become very big vendor in the supply chain suite space. They have the execution component or the TMS as part of their suite. Their TMS might not be as strong as some of the other options that we have on the list, but they are strong because of their planning component as well as because of the network. Their data is going to be far richer, and because of their predictability or the KPIs that they are going to produce are going to be far richer. But if you look at purely from the execution lenses, and that's what this list is about, then E2 Open is not going to be as strong overall in their execution capabilities. Also, since you might not be able to use it standalone because you are going to have that's part of the suite, so that's also a reason why they might not be the best fit for everybody if you're looking only from the TMS perspective. So the pros for E2 Open is going to be it can support all modes, all region. It's really designed for those enterprise workflows, enterprise scenarios, considering all of different modes, and a better fit for companies with supply chain collaboration. The supply chain collaboration aspect is going to be very similar to industries where you have to do a lot of planning, collaboration, data exchange with your channel partners, with your suppliers. That happens in the automotive space, aerospace. Companies such as QAD as well as Dassault System, they were sort of part of those industries. Traditionally they were doing this in their platform, and that's why their platforms were very successful in these industries. But now we have slightly more cloud native options, and that is one of them is going to be E2 Open. They can do a lot of that slightly more in the disconnected fashion. You don't have to have those ERP layers to be able to do supply chain collaboration, supply chain planning, supply chain measurement, and in some industries that could be beneficial. The cons for E2 Open is that it's not a complete suite as compared to some of the other solutions. So, for example, let's say if you look at this more from the ERP suite perspective, so there are supply chain suites and they do certain things for certain industries. They are not going to have the ERP bells and whistles, even though they are going to have 4 or 5 different components as part of the supply chain suite from the supply chain perspective. But even ERP systems are going to have a lot of supply chain capabilities. So there is a little bit of overlap when you look at the combined integration. Whether do you want to approach this more from the ERP perspective or supply chain perspective? So E2 Open is going to have holes overall from the ERP perspective, but their suite is going to be complete from the supply chain perspective. The other con for E2 Open is that it's not very SMB friendly, and their ecosystem, at least as of today, is going to be limited overall in terms of the number of consulting companies that you are going to find to be able to consult on their platform. That is slightly more limiting just because the platform is newer. And having said that, they rank at number 5 on our list. Now, number 4 on our list is Manhattan Associates, and they were traditionally known as more of the retail platform for the retail industries. They are going to have several different components as part of their supply chain suite that are going to be relevant for retailers, but they also have a TMS solution, or you might want to call this add-on, because their TMS capabilities are not going to be as strong. Their WMS capabilities are far stronger, but one of the advantages that you have with Manhattan is that their TMS is going to be connected with your WMS. And then you are going to have other workflows that are going to be extremely relevant for retailers, such as when you look at the distributed order processing, or when you look at omni-channel workflows, or when you look at the POS integration, last mile capabilities. All of these are going to be part of Manhattan, where Manhattan is not going to have as deep capabilities compared to solutions such as E2 Open is going to be in that planning capacity, even though they are going to have some planning component. it's not going to be as deep, and Manhattan is does not have their own sort of network, so they rely on partners to be able to provide data. So their TMS component overall is not going to be as rich in terms of predicting the ETAs, predicting deliveries, completing the supply chain data if you might not have data completely to improve your forecasting. So that's where Manhattan is going to struggle. But overall, from the execution perspective, they are going to be very strong in their TMS capabilities. So the pros for Manhattan is that it's pre-integrated with WMS. That's a huge plus because that integration is extremely busy in general. So if you have to integrate it yourself, that could fire back. Even though you have to vet the pre-integrated workflows as well, whether they are going to work for your use cases, for your needs, depending upon how your data is modeled and how your processes are coded, that could drive whether your integration is going to work for. The other pros for Manhattan is best for retail centric industries. They might not be best fit for anything else than retail. Sure, they can be installed in the other industries as well, but then you might not be able to utilize all of the components that they are really good at. And from the TMS perspective, if you are using Manhattan's TMS, the only reason why you would be using that is because you have their WMS, you are probably a retail centric company, then it would make sense. If you are using their TMS just from the TMS perspective, then they might not be the strongest. You have other options available in the market. Now, the cons for Manhattan is going to be it's really an add-on on top of WMS. So it's not a true TMS solution that you are going to find, especially when you look at the best of breed TMS solutions or the TMS leaders that we are going to have on this list. It's not really for SMBs, and it's probably going to be very expensive because, in general, this is targeted for the enterprise companies. Having said that, Manhattan TMS ranks at number 4 on our now, number 3 is SAP TMS component, which is LE solution that is part of that LE bundle that SAP likes to position. And SAP TMS, the advantage with SAP TMS is going to be that number one, you have the your WMS component is going to be integrated with your ERP, so you can utilize the WMS component either in the standalone fashion if your warehouse architecture is going to be different from your ERP architecture. So you don't have to use the embedded option. You can use the extended option with SAP, but you have both choices, whichever makes sense for your business model, whichever makes sense from the implementation perspective. But then you also have the integrated TMS component. So the pros for SAP is that it's pre-integrated. So if you're already on SAP, it might make sense to utilize the TMS component, at least from the execution perspective from SAP, to use that. And this is going to be ideal for large enterprises over $10 billion in revenue. That's when you are going to get the transaction volume that other TMS, smaller ones especially, might struggle to handle. So it's really designed for that and ideal for companies with complex business models because SAP in general, the WMS is designed to accommodate many different business models. Whether you think more from the shipper perspective or from the 3PL perspective, in general, SAP TMS can accommodate all of those scenarios. Now, the cons with SAP TMS is going to be that relies on Descartes for carrier communication. Now, SAP is going to be partnering with many different data providers to get the data just because SAP does not own the data. So you are going to find a lot of different TMS vendors that we have on this list are probably partnering with SAP, but they are primarily getting the data, are also getting the network because SAP does not have a network except when you talk about Ariba, which is more of the supplier network and not really the carrier network. So that's where the real difference is overall in terms of the network. And SAP does partner with a lot of different TMS vendors as well as the transportation vendor for the data that they are going to use for their TMS component. SAP is going to be really strong in the execution component when you look at the global trade scenario, when you have to have those embedded processes across your supply chain. That's where SAP is going to shine. Now, SAP might require many different add-ons to be comparable with Manhattan and Blue Yonder, just because they are attacking this more from the supply chain perspective. Sure, SAP is going to have IBP solution, but TMS system, yes, TMS system, if that is part of the suite, then it might make sense to keep that as part of the supply chain. But SAP is going to approach this from different perspective and SAP TMS is definitely not designed for SMB. So that's going to be another con. Having said that, SAP TMS is at number 3 on our list. Now, number 2 on our list is Blue Yonder. And Blue Yonder is the one of the strongest supply chain suite out there, if especially when you look at this more from the supply chain perspective, how retail industries are going to use a supply chain suite. For the most part, their usage of ERP is minimal. They use ERP only for financial reporting, maybe for GL, just because the transaction volume that they are going to have is going to be very different from the ERP perspective. ERP systems are primarily designed for more of the B2B scenario. So if you are going to have very small transactions, then sometimes you need to decouple the processes. If you don't decouple that, it becomes very hard for ERP systems to be able to accommodate those workflows, as well as the ERP systems are probably going to be, they are going to take forever to process those transactions, some of these smaller ones. So that's where, especially for retail industries, the supply chain suite makes sense, and reducing the scope of ERP makes sense. And that's where Blue Yonder is really strong in providing all of the pillars that you are going to find from the supply chain perspective. They are going to have all of the workflows related to retail supply chain or supply chain heavy industries, where you are going to be using supply chain from the execution perspective, from the planning perspective. That's where Blue Yonder is going to be really strong. They are going to have control tower capabilities. They are going to have global capabilities. So the pros for Blue Yonder is the most comprehensive supply chain suite. Now, one of the disadvantage with Blue Yonder is that they don't have their own network. Some other solutions are going to have network, or so Blue Yonder is going to rely on a lot of different partners to provide the network. So even though they have the planning component, they have the execution component, they have WMS, TMS, supply chain planning, they have omni-channel capabilities, but still from the network perspective, they are probably going to be short. So Blue Yonder is really strong from the enterprise workflows. When you are looking at very global supply chain, when your transaction volume is really high, that's where Blue Yonder really shines. Now, the cons for Blue Yonder is that it's really expensive, not really designed for SMBs, and not a fit for the standalone TMS need. If you're looking for just the standalone TMS, you have some other options that you can find on the Blue Yonder. Is going to make sense when you are buying the whole supply chain suite, especially for retailers, because they are really strong there. Having said that, Blue Yonder ranks at number 2 on our list. Number 1 on our list is Oracle TMS. And Oracle TMS also takes a very different approach overall from the TMS perspective, from the ERP perspective. So they have a lot of components as part of their supply chain suite, like Blue Yonder or Manhattan, the way Oracle has been designed. Yes, they are going to have ERP integration as well, but their ERP integration is going to be slightly different the way SAP integration is going to be. So Oracle takes sort of the middle of the ground approach, and that's probably the reason why they are ranked at number 1 on our list, is because they are going to have all of the components that you are going to find in solutions such as Blue Yonder or Manhattan, but they are also going to have that ERP integration as part of the suite. They might also include that the HCM integration as part of the suite as well. So you are getting a lot more as part of the suite, but you are also getting the decoupling that is going to be required, especially for retail organization. So Oracle also has very deep capability overall when you look at the global trade management scenario, and those transactions are so embedded that they have to be part of your data suite or the operational suite or the execution suite. If you are going to use the global trade management as the extended offering or the external offering, you might get into integration issues. So that's where Oracle TMS is really strong in providing the best of both. So the pros for Oracle TMS is going to be pre-integrated with Oracle ERP, ideal for retail and transportation centric industries, just because of that decoupled architecture and the strength of their supply chain suite designed from the perspective of these industries. Global supply chain capabilities with control tower. So that's another strength that Oracle has. Now, the cons for Oracle is that it's not really designed for SMBs, not the best fit for standalone TMS needs, and it's probably going to be expensive. Having said that, Oracle ranks at number one on our list. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include the link for a detailed article, so you might want to check that. This podcast is also available in the audio form on Apple, Google, and Spotify. So if you have not subscribed, you might want to do that. And if you have not checked our digital transformation report for 2023, we are going to include the link. Also, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we publish these videos on a weekly basis. So you might want to do that. On that note, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.